guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video today, and welcome to another F1 2020 gameplay video. So they seem to be trickling in every single week. Today, we have some gameplay on board with Carlos Sainz in his McLaren, obviously using the FOM car with the McLaren livery on it, but the first time we get to see that brand new matte McLaren finish in orange and blue, and it's a lap around the Circuit of Catalunya, obviously ahead of the Spanish Grand Prix, or what would have been the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, and we've got some very juicy details coming off this gameplay, the biggest being a brand new revamped Catalunya in Sector 3, based off the feedback from the real F1 drivers that they've been telling Codemasters in the meanwhile whilst they've been playing the game over the last few weeks, and also I believe months, when Lando Norris first tried Catalunya with Codemasters a few kind of months ago last year. And then also the potential new look at maybe an overtake button for the ERS. We're going to dive into that in a sec, but first of all, we're going to take a look at this Sector 3. So we're going to cut straight to Sector 3, then on board. We're going to watch the whole lap later on, but let's just see this Sector 3. So into that brake zone, left-hander, straight away. I think the entire circuit's been widened up here at this part. Certainly this entry point's a lot wider. The elevation, a lot less. That bump, a lot less aggressive. You've got the brand new runoff area at Catalunya that we saw in 2020 testing. Then the right-hander also being changed, and then this massive profile change, undulation down the crest before you get to the chicane, and then the chicane is pretty much near enough flat now as it is in real life according to the Formula 1 drivers, and it's a lot more like it is on board in real life. So the actual change of elevation downwards happens a lot earlier now in the game, as it does in real life, as the drivers kind of told Codemasters it was the case, and the entire sector itself is a lot less tight, it would seem, and basically annoying to drive in a way, which was definitely what some of the F1 drivers were echoing on their Twitch streams when they ever played Catalunya, saying this is nothing like real life, this is quite annoying in terms of what they drive in real life, of course. We're going to take a closer look now and compare the 2020 lap to an F1 2019 hot lap in a McLaren. Of course, you can see the differences between the real McLaren on the left and the FOM car for 2020 with the livery strapped on there, but we're going to take a look slowly through Sector 3 and try and spot differences. One, obviously, straight away is just visually the brake marker board's very different for some reason, but already the entry point into this corner, I feel like it's been slightly widened a little bit. It may be the FOV angle, because the FOV on the left-hand side is my own FOV that I run on F1 2019, so that might make it look a little bit more narrow, but I truly believe if you watch on the lap as it goes through the apex, I think the right-hand side curb and that entire runoff area has been pushed out a little bit wider, and that's way more apparent when we get to the next screen, the entry point to that left-hander. On F1 2019, massive bump, really quite difficult. You have to basically lift off throttle and kind of let the car roll over the bump, because if you get on the power too early, you're going to start spinning the rear tires and go off left to the gravel trap. You can see the entry point difference. We're right on the curb compared to on the 2020 gameplay, we're not right on the curb, but you can see from the apex on the left to the curb on the right, that distance is so much larger compared on the right-hand side compared to the left. And then as we go through the rest of the lap down into that new section now, you can see the elevation is already coming in a lot more on the 2020 on board. The same thing again, they've reprofiled the actual track layout on the outside with the white line, and then we get towards this part and kind of look at where the Fanatec board is down towards the ground. You can see that visual dip as you go under the shadow of the Fanatec board on the right hand side with 2020 compared to on the left hand side with 2019. And then if you just kind of quickly flick between the two screenshots of 2019, 2020, 2019, 2020, you can see the profile is completely different on the chicane. So finally now we get a bit more of a realistic Sector 3 after many, many years actually of Spain being like this. And finally now the F1 drivers really saying a lot after playing it themselves, and Codemasters thinking this is the time now to reprofile that. So decent stuff. So might make Sector 3, I mean, Sector 3 was somewhat flowing anyway, at least in my opinion, on F1 2019, but now this should make it even more flowing and a little bit nicer to drive, basically, especially the chicane. I can admit to that. The chicane was never great on F1 2019. It hasn't been for many, many years. It was always the most annoying part of the circuit. Now it looks like a bit more inviting and a bit more just drivable, basically. But now we're just going to go ahead and watch the entire clip in full of this lap and pick out little details if we can, and pause it when we need to. But obviously the new matte finish on the McLaren, lovely to see. Hopefully it's going to look even better than on the full McLaren model. But into turn one at the apex, we're going to pause it here and just zoom in to the steering wheel there, because you can see it has the word overtake on the display on the dashboard, and we have never seen overtake like that written. You know, there was overtake mode in F1 2019 in terms of the ERS mode, but we never saw it actually verbally said. It was always just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the different 5 modes of ERS, whereas this time it's written like that. On Twitter, some of you guys, the esports players, are maybe saying and hoping that this means there's an overtake button. So we can't confirm anything, but that's what the hope of the esports guys are saying in the community, and potentially we read into it quite a lot. That might mean that. If we go back to the Zandvoort lap as well, this is something that came up afterwards with Terrell Limitless getting into discussion with myself about the ERS. In the Zandvoort lap, we saw mode electricity 3 was on the car. For some reason now it's 0, so I don't know what that's about. In time trial, you go to the max number. In time trial, it's 5. So, you know, for the 5th mode, hot lap mode. So the fact that it was in 3 at Zandvoort did maybe get people wondering, are there only now 3 modes of ERS to play around with in F1 2020? You know, simplifying it somewhat. But now with this gameplay, with this McLaren gameplay, we've got 0 for some reason. So I'm not too sure if Codemasters maybe saw that they maybe gave too much away in the Zandvoort lap and wanted to remove some of that kind of detail, and now kind of trying to throw us off with 0 on the spark there for some reason. Or maybe in time trial, maybe that was a different mode. I can't be for certain. I'm just trying to think on the top of my head why it would be 3 at Zandvoort and 0 here at Catalunya. And also, we didn't see overtake being written on the steering wheel at Zandvoort. So is that a difference of maybe 0 with overtake means the time trial mode of the ERS? I don't know, but definitely it looks like we can confirm at least there is some sort of tweak to ERS. There's got to be, because it's too different looking in the Zandvoort lap and this Catalunya lap for there not to be. But there's still question marks over, will there be an overtake button? Will there be only 3 modes? Why is there 0 right now at Catalunya? Those are questions that were yet to be answered, hopefully in the coming weeks. Obviously, as I said, they're starting to trickle in gameplay. 1 a week, it would seem. Last week Zandvoort, this week Spain. I know next week there's not technically meant to be a plan. There was never meant to be a planned Grand Prix, so there might not be a gameplay video. We'll have to see, really. But for now, all we can do is kind of just guesswork. But let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments below. Do you reckon that maybe is an overtake button? And do you maybe like the sound of them simplifying the ERS mode if they did simplify it? So let's continue on then. Sound-wise, you can hear the difference now of the Renault in the McLaren Onboard. On the TCAM and the cockpit there. Just going to kind of quieten up. Maybe we get back on board and so you can hear it properly. But then off board as well, they've changed the sound as well. But here we go. So under downshifts, that sounds so much cooler. A little bit more crisp, a little bit more alive, basically a bit more character to it, I guess, and kind of like what we've heard with the Renault engine a lot of the times in 2019 as well. That's a very unique downshift sound the Renault has. And then, of course, we swing through the right, and then we come through to Sector 3. I saw a comment below of the video that Codemasters uploaded saying that they noticed the driver also was almost flat through Turn 3, or pretty much flat through Turn 3, so maybe they have changed a little bit of the characteristics of the understeer nature we had in F1 2019, so maybe in 2020 now we've got the same kind of similar sort of handling model, but maybe with a more responsive front end, which I would personally love, because at the start of the game that definitely was an issue for me. I was driving with that understeer. I like a front end that's quite punchy, so that's why I like the kind of later on Season 6 career mode cars compared to the counterparts from Season 0, so that's an interesting kind of insight from that person who commented on the Codemasters video. But that is then the hot lap around Catalunya. Not much else to say then, but guys, if you did enjoy the video and did enjoy the insight from the change of the Catalunya circuit and also the potential change of ERS, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, like I said, of all of that good stuff. And if you are new around here, then do go subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. If you guys enjoy our style, see you guys next time. Goodbye.